Welcome to the Inspiring Coaches Show, the podcast devoted to inspiring coaches to bring their professional dreams to life by revealing the knowledge, insights, and best practices of other inspiring coaches. I'm your host, Jen Anderson, PCC, early settler of the coaching industry, lover of all things coaching, and what coaching is doing to make the world a better place. Hello out there. As you probably know by now, I love to start every coaching session by asking my clients what we can celebrate from their life. And I find that it's a little bit of an unusual question for most people because really, honestly, primarily they're walking around in their life most of the time thinking about what's not going well. And so this is an instant shift. And since that's what we're trying to create in coaching is shifts in thinking, perspectives, and mindsets. I love to ask that question, what can we celebrate from your life? So I want to invite you, dear listener, to send in a brief 2 to 3 sentence celebration from your own work as a coach in the world. So each week I'll share 1 or 2 celebrations that come in as yet another way to inspire fellow coaches who are leading the way with inspiration. So please email me your celebration, keeping in mind the imperative for confidentiality, of course, at all times. And you can send that to Jennifer at coachingoutofthebox.com, and I will enjoy getting to celebrate with you. Our celebration this week comes from Miriam Chuck, and she is a previous podcast guest. So thanks, Miriam, for letting us know. What she wants to share is that as an MCC, she's proud to say that every coach she has mentored for their credentialing has successfully passed their recordings on their first attempt. So it's been incredibly rewarding for Miriam to support them on their coaching journeys and witness their growth and development. And Miriam says she's grateful for the opportunity to make a positive impact on their professional lives. So yay, Miriam. Great work in the world. Well, coaches, get ready to be extra inspired today with our guest. I've known Anne Fogolin, who was an MCC, for at least 20 years. We've parallel played in the coaching community quite a bit. And I personally believe her to be an influencer in the world of coaching. And sometimes I'll say that to her and she'll just get very quiet. and if you can see her right now, which I think you may or may not be able to, she just shook her head a little bit, but I see her as an influencer. And I just am really excited to have her here with us. So she is going to chat with me today to inspire you around why all leaders need to engage in coaching skills and what the benefits of that is. So to get you centered on her topic, Anne's provided us with a quote. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And that's Marianne Williamson. So while you're pondering that bit of wisdom, we'll take just a quick break to hear from our inspiring sponsor, and then we'll be right back with Anne Fogolin, MCC.
On behalf of all of us here at the International Coaching Group, also known as Coaching Out of the Box, we thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you're enjoying this podcast. If you're ready to turn your coaching dreams into a reality, please reach out to one of our enrollment coaches and ask about our Fast Track to ICF credential, or perhaps our 555 Coaching Skills Training Program. On behalf of all of us here, we would welcome the opportunity to support your coaching education journey from beginning to certification and beyond. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome back. And as a quick reminder, we're talking about why all leaders need to engage in coaching skills and what the benefit of that is with our guest, Anne Fogolin. And for those of you who have not met Anne yet in the coaching world, I want to share a little bit about her, which I think explains why I'm so excited and feel so privileged to get to talk with her today. So Anne is an MCC and a PMC. She's a Master Certified Coach Facilitator and Speaker who focuses on driving success by helping clients define purpose and find meaning. Anne approaches each coaching engagement with a direct, open, and intuitive style. She specializes in coaching visionary leaders, executives, and collaborative work teams, as well as mentoring experienced coaches. She serves as a faculty member with 3 coach training schools. Again, she's an ICF registered mentor coach, an ICF assessor, and trainer of ICF assessors worldwide. She regularly assesses ACC, PCC, and MCC credentialing applications for the ICF. So lots of amazing, impressive credentials. But you know what? More than anything else, Anne is down to earth and here for us today. So Anne, welcome and thank you for being here.
It's always a pleasure spending time with you, my friend. Always, always.
I feel that way about you as well. And so let's create, let's have some fun. Let's collaborate and partner. What do you say?
Let's do that.
Does that sound good? All right. So why all leaders need to engage in coaching skills. So why, Anne?
I suppose I could do the reverse of that, Jen, and do the why not. There isn't anyone who sits in a position of leadership anymore that doesn't have how many credentials behind their name. And so we know that people go to school and they get this degree and that certification, what have you. And so what it demonstrates is that they have the IQ, but the EQ is what really makes the difference in leaders. At least my experience is EQ, or emotional intelligence. And a long time ago, these were called soft skills. And they're not soft skills at all. They are the deciding factor often when a leader is really successful and effective in the work that they do. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. The skills are pretty self-explanatory. And for us as coaches, you can't do anything without that. And so what I'm talking about are things like presence and listening and learning how to ask questions before you tell people what to do. And are you a good model? And do you collaborate? And are you a good communicator? And so these are all competencies that fall under the emotional intelligence testing, if you will. Where is it that these competencies work for you? And what is it perhaps that needs to be worked on? And so, yes, coaching skills, training managers and leaders how to implement good coaching skills in their day-to-day can make a massive difference in what the organizations can actually produce.
And
Jen.
coaches, yeah, right.
Jen. You know I can keep going. You know that.
You know I want to ask a challenging question because
Go girl. Go girl.
I'm revving up. I'm gearing up to ask my burning question here. For the coaches out there listening to us who are inspired to really work with these leaders, what do you see as possible? Let me rephrase. How do we buck the trend or the impulse? Maybe it's an impulse to do that consultative style of, and I hesitate to say this, I'm cringing as I say it, but the perception that there is a consultative style of coaching.
Mm-hmm. So what I can say is, if we look at this from an organizational perspective, companies are in business to make money, and people are hired to get that task done. And getting to the bottom line of making profit is, often what will allow one to become promoted perhaps in an organization. And that telling, command and control, the telling isn't what works well for us as much anymore generationally, because we have millennials, we have Gen X, I don't even know what the next one is called after that. I just know that I'm a boomer. I keep telling myself I'm 28, which just means I'm delusional. But we have generational and we have cultural considerations now because many organizations are global. And if they're not global, they're at least international. So this methodology doesn't work well with a huge percentage of the workforce that's there.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that really effective, efficient, influential leaders can adapt in order to support the organization in reaching the organizational goals, i.e. profit margin at the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the more collaborative, the more flexible, the more innovative, the more communicative, the more trust that this leader can build and influence, the greater the likelihood the organization will benefit. Because the truth of the matter is, I mean, I don't remember where it was, not the latest Gallup, maybe the one before, which suggested that organizations who do really well have leaders and managers trained in coaching skills.
Mm-hmm.
And that people who leave organizations don't leave because of the organization. They leave because they have poor managers and they have poor leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I don't think it takes rocket science, Jen, to figure out the better our managers and leaders are, i.e. train them to have coaching skills, the greater the likelihood that there will be success within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And that all made sense in my head. What do you think? Doesn't always mean it's making sense.
Oh, it all made sense to me too. Yeah. And of course I think we're looking at this on two levels, and you can tell me if I'm missing the mark here, but your topic is why all leaders need to engage in coaching skills.
Yeah.
We're here as a podcast primarily for coaches to inspire them who want to bring coaching to those leaders. So I think there's kind of like two ways to look at it. And one question I have for you, and this again might fly in the face of what I should or shouldn't be saying, but if we're going to the leaders and we're giving them some coaching skills, they can have a coach approach to conversations.
Yeah.
Versus really training them to be coaches.
Yeah.
What gaps are you seeing?
That's a great question, actually.
Thank you. Every coach loves to hear that.
I
We don't usually get to say
wouldn't expect
thank you.
anything less from you. Again, and I don't have the site that I can reference for you, but I can find it for you if we wanted it. Meaning that there was a study done in the effectiveness of leaders who had no coach training, so no coach training skills, versus managers and leaders who had coach training, in that it was a coach approach to their leadership and or management style, versus those who were trained coaches in their management and leadership positions. And there was a substantial difference between all three. So it was important in that there are going to be times when a leader, a manager, needs to tell their direct reports what needs to happen, because the direct report just doesn't have the information, doesn't have the resource, doesn't have the experience, whatever. But it's understanding, where is it that we can take much more of a coach approach? How is it that we can ask those questions? What's the quality of presence that we're delivering? How contextual and deep is the quality of my listening? So can I take a coach approach to this? Absolutely. Will it make a difference in the bottom line? Absolutely. How can I up-level that for me to become fully trained as a coach as well?
So what I heard embedded in that is there's the potential to offer these leaders that opportunity.
Yes.
To function at that higher level of actually as a coach.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, I love the fact that you've read studies and that you're really immersed in this and the culture. So I can ask you things that I haven't done the research on. what percentage of people in senior leadership roles are making that choice? Do you have any sense of that?
I don't have it off the top of my head. I will
Mm.
find that study for you and I can send it to you. It has the percentages listed in there.
Does
The
it? Okay.
those that really take this on, and I think, it's people like a Simon Sinek. It's people like, well, even a Brene Brown, and how it is that she has approached her work with those who are in positions of leadership. It is understanding that you're working with people. And the bottom line is, when people feel valued, respected, heard, that their contributions matter, that someone in a more senior position is acting from a place of integrity and trust. And these are words that we throw out, seemingly, they're the buzzwords.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, if you demonstrate to people that they matter, there's a great likelihood that you're going to get that much more from them. And so those that are in positions of leadership, really good leaders, know what they're good at. They also know where they might be a little bit short.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it that they surround themselves with people who are more qualified or educated or knowledgeable in areas that they are not, and are not in any way in a position where they feel less than. It's actually a demonstration of strength versus a demonstration of weakness, if you will. I'm not a fan of that word,
Mm-hmm.
but it really demonstrates that they are very fully aware of what they're very good at and what they need support with. A good leader surrounds themselves with people stronger than they in areas that they know that they don't have that capacity. And so then listen to the input from those around them. So it's inviting those that really want to do well to see things from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. I'll just underscore that. I think that was an important, just last little soundbite there, inviting them, right, to really think about that and to embrace it. So many questions coming into my mind.
That's
Everybody's
because
talking
you're a
about
really good coach. That's
it feels so nice. So the last couple of months, I feel like we've been bombarded with the whole concept of AI in coaching. I'm certainly not an expert in that. I barely scratched the surface in understanding, but I know that it's something that's, really on people's minds. And you're talking about EQ here, right? Which I don't, to my knowledge, AI hasn't figured out how to have emotions yet.
you know, this is a topic that I am so not well versed in.
And I'm not going to ask you anything about it.
Great, because I know
I'm framing it.
nano snippet.
Right.
Yeah. And the part that I do know, because I was involved in a webinar, I participated in a webinar where the AI, how AI can be used in coaching, was really enlightening and disturbing all at the same time.
All at the same time. Okay. Well, who knows? Maybe it'll be helpful in what I'm going to ask. So, because what I heard you say is you're talking about leaders and really recognizing the importance of I am relating to, I am communicating with another human being, a person, right, who has dreams and hopes and desires and goals. And, fundamentally, you have an opportunity to believe that everyone is really trying to do well while still taking care of their own best interests at the same time, right? Those aren't mutually exclusive things.
Right.
And so I think I heard you say earlier that for leaders to be able to embrace that this is not something that is fluff. It's not a soft skill. It's something that, for me, what I'm thinking, I want to hear what you think, is that this is what's going to be the differentiator for truly great leaders as AI steps in and is able to do that tell piece of the don't tell, ask, or the AI can do the telling. AI can do the analytics of it. What we were going to need is people who can truly lead.
Yes.
You got a question out of that. I'm good. What you going to answer?
Well, I'm going to do yes. And that's how I've understood AI to this point, that I don't know enough about it to speak to the complexity of an issue that AI could provide coaching on.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it were very transactional and basic, apparently that's where there could be benefit. If I'm working with someone who is, if you're working with someone who's at that C-suite level, their level of commitment to not just the organizational goals, because it's often very task, but how do they understand that taking care of their people is the most important thing? And what does it mean for you? Where is it that you are really strong? And where are you perhaps in need of some growth and development when it comes to this people part? So, there's a phrase that I love, Jen. People don't care. How is it? People don't care what you know until they know how much you care, or something like that, right? How does a leader demonstrate that they care? So when I think of this, for example, it is where they put the need of who this direct report might be before making assumptions. How is it that they are demonstrating through their actions, through their language on a daily basis, that they're connected, that they're there to support, that they are communicating, meaning that they're listening, that they're asking those questions, that they are modeling that they'll take responsibility for what is theirs and are holding other people accountable and responsible for their piece of it. These are human interactions. These are behaviors that I don't know how computers deal with. I'm just not computer savvy. But I don't know how we could ever replace what this is with a computer and get the same kind of result. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't be done. Goodness, there are all kinds of things that we've been able to accomplish that many thought would never be accomplished. At the same time, I have to say honestly, and this is the comment that I made in that webinar, I feel like we are being pulled away from the human to human connection in our worlds. I don't go to a bank anymore and see a bank teller. I've been encouraged to go use an ATM at the bank. I'm not encouraged to go through a lineup at a grocery store. I'm encouraged to do the self-checkout. And if I need help, then somebody comes and does a tap, tap, and it's done. Really no interaction. This is the same thing for me. Coaching is a human to human experience. Coaching is all about connection. Coaching is about supporting another human being in becoming the best version of themselves. And I don't know how a computer does that. Again, I don't know enough about it. I'm not saying it can't be done. I just don't understand. And it concerns me because I would never want to be speaking to a computer on the other side of the screen. I want to speak to Jen. I want to see Jen. I want to see Jen smile and nod and laugh and challenge me. I don't know how a computer does that. Boy, aren't you glad you asked that?
Yes, I really am. I think you're speaking to so much of what's in people's minds and hearts right now. We're talking about the Wild West, the early frontier of all of this, as far as I can tell, in terms of how it's going to impact our industry. But, in a bigger picture, for me, what I pulled out earlier from what you said is, our topic is why all leaders need to engage in coaching skills. So the idea there is, because this is the differentiator, being able to relate to people, to not only say that you care, to not only say you act in integrity, right? Those things that we said, they're just buzzwords, right? But when you really dig into them and understand what those words mean and who you need to be,
Yeah.
to be someone who is practicing integrity, who
Yeah.
does care. You can show you care because you do care. Inspiring people, for me, it just makes the case for how important it is for those of us that are called to serve in this way in leadership roles with leaders and organizations. Go make it happen. Bring this to the higher levels of leadership in your organization.
You've just hit on something so important, in my humble opinion, which I happen to think is right. So just saying, coaching is all about relationships. Coaching is all about relationships, how we build, how we create, how we continue, how we support. And the beingness is so a huge piece of who we are as coaches. We can all learn how to do this thing we call coaching. We all go to whatever school we go to and take their training, and we follow a structure, model, process, whatever you want to call it. But what makes us really good coaches is our being a human, being connected, being in relationship, being that support system, being that accountability partner, being that one that will, give you a good kick in the behind if you need that, because that's what coaches do. It's that relationship and that trust that is then built between coach and client, that the client that just, is, oh, boy, aren't you glad you asked? So leaders, for example, those of us privileged enough to coach leaders, they're surrounded by a lot of yes people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really lonely up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got someone who is really willing to play, then they kind of go, oh, and you've been given permission. What a privilege that you can say to them, yeah, Jen, love you as I do. I'm not buying what you're selling. So let's try something else. It's not something they're accustomed to.
Right.
That's the growth and development that's going to come into play.
Mm-hmm.
How does a computer do that? Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going off on tangents.
You're not. Actually, I was just about to give you the feedback that you just summarized our competencies in 2 or 3 sentences of application. Like you made them come to life in their meaning and their. So actually, my hat is off to you as usual. I learn so much every time I get a chance to be with you, and I know we could go on for so much more, but we have time limits, and unfortunately, we have reached that. So, Anne, I know there are people out there that will have listened to this that are going to want to find you. What's the best way for them to find you to continue this conversation?
So thank you for that, Jen. So easy enough. You can go to the website, www.becuzImatter.com. And because is spelled Becuz. Yes, I'm Canadian. BecuzImatter.com, Because I Matter. Or you can email me at AnnFogolin@BecuzImatter.com.
Perfect. Okay, well, if you can hang on for just a second longer here, we're going to break really quickly to hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
Hello. On behalf of all of us here at the International Coaching Group, also known as Coaching Out of the Box, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. We hope you are enjoying the Inspiring Coaches Show. This podcast is just one example of the many resources and tools we offer. If you are looking for an ICF accredited coach educator, look no further. Our signature Fast Track to ICF credential program has been one of the many reasons both individuals and corporations have chosen the International Coaching Group to support their coaching skills training and coaching journeys. Please reach out to an enrollment coach today. It would be our sincere pleasure to support your coaching needs. Thank you.
All right. Well, the Inspiring Coaches Show is looking for inspiring guests. Yes, I'm sure some of you can come close to being as inspiring as Anne, at least. So if you're interested in joining me on the show, please send me an email to Jennifer@coachingoutofthebox.com. and include your topic idea and a short blurb on how you think it will inspire coaches to bring their professional dreams to life. And so, as we all know, inspired coaches believe in expressing gratitude. And thank you so much for coming and playing.
My pleasure, my friend. Always, always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Well, always. And the fact that you welcome the hard questions, and you stand so beautifully in your power in doing so and answering them. It's just so much fun to collaborate with you. So, and thank you for all that you do for our community. It's
My
no
pleasure.
small commitment that you've made to our profession. And I'm proud, very proud to call you my colleague. Very honored. Okay, so also to our sponsor, Coaching Out of the Box, Coaching Group International, thank you. And most of all, thank you to you, dear coach, who is listening in, for committing yourself really to constantly seeking things that will empower you to empower your clients to grow and bring your coaching dreams to life. So I'm Jen Anderson, and this is the Inspiring Coaches Show.